Hello, it's good to see you. Today we are doing a topic that someone asked me to do. This was a request, and someone asked me to do a video on how to deal with other people's success. It's not that you didn't succeed. It's that when you have someone in your life who managed to achieve a goal or they experienced some sort of success, and it may be something that you're having trouble dealing with for your own reasons. So this video just focuses on that. And I have my little cards. I have quite a few actually. Yeah, I started out with just a few things and I kept adding to it, and I've come up with quite a bit here. Um, so we're going to start out with a couple of definitions of words that I'm going to use, and you may already know these words. You may be familiar with them, but I thought it might be useful to just point out the difference in these two words. The first word is subjective. And something that is subjective is something that is based on or influenced by your personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. So it's just, it may be the way you look at it. It's your perspective on whatever it is that you're talking about. So that is subjective, a subjective opinion. And then there is objective. Now, objectivity is not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. It is based on facts, empirical data. It's quantifiably measurable, however you want to look at it. It's just the facts. It's not your opinions. So that's objective. Okay. So say you have someone in your life and they have achieved a goal. And it may be something that you had hoped to achieve for yourself. And it brings about in you, you find that you're feeling all these negative feelings about it. I've been there myself. I think probably at some point in our lives, pretty much everybody has experienced this. It could be, in sports or in academics, personal goals. It could be things at work. Maybe they got a promotion that you were hoping to get, or you were competing in some event and they got first place and you didn't, or they got a better grade on something than you did. And you find yourself looking at that person in a negative light because of it. And that can be uncomfortable, but I think it can also be a good time to learn a little bit about yourself, because honestly, those feelings say a lot about you and maybe a lot about your relationship with that person that you might want to look at a little bit in a little bit more detail, a little more depth. And one of the things you can do when you first experience this, like say you were you were part of a track meet or something, and somebody did better than you did, and you automatically start feeling all these negative things and feeling resentment, bitterness, anger toward this person. One thing that you can do is at that moment, right when you start to experience that, write down your thoughts about the situation and really think about each thought. Just sit down with a notepad and a pen or whatever and just write it as it comes to you. I'm angry. I deserved that. It should have been me. Why didn't I win? And think about each one of those things. Is it based in fact, or is that just the way you feel about it? I should have won. Well, did you train as hard as you could have? Did you truly do everything you could have done to perform at your best at that track meet? Or did you kind of slack off and not really devote as much time to it as you should have? I'm just saying, be honest with yourself. And maybe you did do your very best and the other person still won. I mean, you have to face that fact. I truly did the best I could do, but it wasn't good enough because that other person still beat me. But you can use that for personal growth as well. You could look at that and say, well, okay, maybe the way I've been training is not working for me and I need to try something different. Maybe I need to incorporate other strategies. Maybe I need to work with a different trainer, try some different techniques. there may be ways that you can improve your time next time. But it's so easy to get stuck with, oh, well, it's not fair because they had this going for them, they had that going for them, and I had this and that, so it's not really fair because I was at a disadvantage. And it's really easy to do that, to make excuses for yourself. But if you sit down, I think if you sit down and write down all the feelings that you were having when it first happens, like if somebody gets a promotion at work that you thought you deserved more than they did, sit down and write down every feeling that you have and look at each one of those things and really think about it. And this is another thing that's kind of important. In this, I have dealt with this myself. Does the person achieving the success affect the way you feel about it? Like if you think about, like say there's this really nice new model sports car that's come out and you really want it. You would love to have that car. And you see one in a parking lot somewhere. And you see a person getting into the car. And so you see the person who apparently owns the car, you see him getting in. But then imagine the same situation where your ex's new significant other, you see them getting into that sports car. Do you think you would feel the same about the stranger in the parking lot as you would about your ex's new squeeze? You might have more negative feelings about your ex's new person getting in that car. You might think some pretty bad things about that person. So the person involved in the achievement of success can affect the way you perceive it. If a stranger wins the lottery, you probably won't give it another thought. But if your old rival from high school wins the lottery, you may have some different feelings about it. So it's not so much the success that you didn't achieve. That is important. But your relationship with that person has a lot to do with how you react to it. And this may be some of the thoughts that you have, even though these thoughts are uncomfortable to really face. And I've been there. I have experienced this in my own life. What's wrong with me? When will it be my turn? I've thought that so many times when, I always wanted to go on a cruise my whole life, but I could never afford it. And, friends of mine and people at work would go on cruises and come back and tell me about it. And I was always happy for them, but at the same time, I would always think, when am I going to get to do that? Why do they get to do this? This person's been on multiple cruises. I've never even been on one cruise. It's not fair. And you get a sense of the fairness of it. You perceive the fairness in a certain way so that you feel that it's not fair, if that makes any sense. And it can cause resentment. And that's where resentment comes from. It's a sense of unfairness. You have something that I should have, and it's not fair. So that can cause some negative feelings when someone else achieves success. And along that lines, it is important to try to figure out the source of your negative feelings. I try very hard to be happy and supportive of anyone who achieves a goal or they experience something good. They've worked for something and they succeeded. I try to be very happy for that person regardless of my relationship with them, although sometimes it's harder to feel that way. And I try to be very honest with myself about it and realize that that's on me. I may not like this person very much because of some history I have with this person or whatever it is, but I realize that's on me. That's not their problem, it's my problem. If the source of your negative feelings is jealousy, that's something to focus on. And I have had negative feelings that were motivated, they were driven by jealousy. If it's resentment, I think jealousy and resentment kind of go hand in hand, but they can also be separate as motivators for your negativity toward people. And you also want to think about the successful person. Did they succeed doing something that you've tried or thought about trying to do. Like if your goal was weight loss and this other person, you were aware that they were involved in a weight loss program, or maybe you were in the same program, but they achieved their goal faster than you did. Or say you were training to run a 5K and they ran it faster than you, or whatever. But if it's something that you thought about trying to do or you actually tried to do, I think it can hit closer to home as opposed to something like they won the lottery but you never play. So you can kind of soothe yourself a little bit and think, well, maybe I would have won if I had played, but I've never tried, so I'm not going to take it quite so personally. But if you feel like you have something invested in it, whether it's your time or your effort, I think it hurts a little more. It kind of hurts our ego. It bruises our ego. And that's what hurts. We kind of feel like, I tried, but I didn't do as well as they did, and that sucks. I hate you. It's uncomfortable. And this is another thing that I thought of today. Did they succeed at something that maybe you think should be important to you, but it's really not that important to you? I'll try to explain what I mean by that. I think sometimes society kind of dictates to us what's important, what our goals should be, but deep down they may not really be our goals. I mean, we're told, you may not be explicitly told, but in society, you kind of get the feeling that being wealthy is a goal. It's a worthy goal. It's one that you should work toward. Having a big fancy house, having an expensive car, having all these things should be a goal that you want to work toward. But it may not really be something that you have as a goal. But if you don't achieve it, you already kind of have it in you, although you may not see it. You've kind of been told all your life, well, you should want that. And if someone else in your life achieves it and you don't, maybe you should feel bad about that because they've clearly achieved something very important that you haven't. So maybe you need to get your priorities in order because you don't want that. But you should, because I'm society and I said so. You could be experiencing this resentment toward people for achieving a goal that you don't even really care about all that much. And I think it's important to look at the success of this person in that concept, in that light, in that perspective. Is it really even a goal that you cared all that much about? Is it a goal that you would want to put in the work and effort and time to achieve it? Personally, being wealthy has never been a goal of mine. I've never... I mean, I don't know. I've never. It's not a big priority to me. It never has been. But society says, well, that's what you should want. I mean, that's what we all want. So what's wrong with you that you don't want that? So just stop and think: is this really something that even matters to me? And if it doesn't matter to me, maybe I should try to let this go. And along that lines, I think it's important, and I think a lot of people have never done this. Learn to define success for yourself. Whatever success means to you, whatever it would be for you. Success to you may not be the same as success for somebody else. For me, success is raising 2 healthy, happy, productive young men and doing the best I can on my job and trying to maintain a good YouTube channel. Success to me is not having tons of cash and fancy cars and clothes with the right names on them and being seen by the right people. That's just never, to me, that it's not important to me. I don't worry about where my clothes came from or how much they cost or showing off to people who don't really care anyway. That's not success to me. Success is being there for my family and my friends, my kids, and just trying to be a good, productive person, just trying to be a good person. That to me is success to me. And another thing a lot of people have never done is look at your core values, the things that really matter to you, because they define how you view and interact with the world. What are your core values? What really matters to you? Does it really matter to you to be the best at everything? Because that really matters to a lot of people. To a lot of people, that would be a core value. I always want to win. I want to come out on top in everything. Very competitive people may be that way. What matters to me is not being seen as strange. I want to fit in. I want to conform. I want to be part of the in crowd because I never was as a kid, so now I desperately want that. Some people, that's a core value now. That makes up part of who they are. I think for me, my core values would be integrity, honesty, compassion, concern for other people. My work ethic is very important to me. Being there for people who need me. That's what matters to me. Not stuff or always winning. I don't care about that. Although I used to. I used to be very competitive as a kid. I kind of got over that though. And core values, again, are just the things that really matter to you in life. And a lot of people have never really thought about it. What really matters to you? Is it superficial stuff? Is it your outward appearance, how you look to other people? Because I know people, I have people in my own life who are obsessed with appearance and how other people perceive them to the point where it truly is an obsession, and it's strange. I don't know, and pride in yourself matters. What makes you proud of yourself? When was the last time that you could say that you did something or you were part of something that really made you proud of yourself? A lot of times we don't hear from other people, I'm proud of you. At least not in a non-sarcastic way. But when was the last time you could honestly say you were proud of yourself? You took pride in something that you did and you were proud of your achievement. And it doesn't have to be big stuff. I remember one of my most proud moments as a young adult. I've been on my own since I was 17. And I remember the first time I ever replaced the windshield wiper blades on my car. I was 18 and I had no idea what I was doing. And I will never forget. I know it's a silly thing to be proud of, but I was so proud that I was able to obtain new blades and replace the blades on my car by myself with no help. And that was a very proud moment for me because I had never done it. And I felt more independent and strong. And it gives you a boost. Like, you know what? If I can do this, I can handle other stuff too. I can do stuff. I'm proud of myself. Look what I did. So every time I had to turn on the windshield wipers, I thought about that. I did that. I've done little home repairs here at home, at the house by myself, and stand back and look what I did. Look at that. Even if it's just little stuff, it gives you a little boost. It's like a little high five for yourself, kind of, yeah, look at that. And you can see it on a regular basis, and it reminds you that you can do stuff. And it may help you later. If you do have a goal you want to achieve, it gives you a little bit of extra confidence. Yeah, I can do this. I can. Look at this other stuff I've done. I can handle this. I can tackle this. Sure. And another thing that you can do is figure out what motivates you from within. If you'll notice, we started out talking about how do you deal with other people's success if you don't handle it very well. But we're talking about you. We're talking about how you deal with things. We're not talking about that other person right now, because right now that other person doesn't matter. The source of your negativity and your resentment is in here. It's not in that other person. It's in you. So it's about you. It's about who you always wanted to be, not others. And that is what is really going to motivate you to do things. I think some people have an easier time being self-starters. I've always been a bit of a self-starter, and I'm not putting anybody down, but my parents were not really the kind to put a lot of thought into my schoolwork or my performance at school. They'd sign my report cards and that was about it. I didn't really get a lot of feedback from them. As long as I wasn't flunking out, they had nothing to say about my grades or how I was doing in school. But along the way, I learned to be kind of my own cheerleader, and I did pretty well. I did pretty well in school, but my parents just, they didn't really have an opinion about it one way or the other. But I had to learn to kind of motivate myself to do better. It's like, okay, yeah, I got a B on this, but I also know that I didn't study very hard, and I could work harder and do better, and I could get an A on the next test. And I would get that A on the next test, and the test after that, and the test after that. And I continued that all the way through college with nobody there to hover over me or lecture me about my grades, because they genuinely didn't seem to care as long as I wasn't flunking out or failing anything. But you got to figure out what it is inside you that will keep you going. Like if your goal is to go work out more, you want to go to the gym more, what will motivate you to do that? And again, it's different for everybody. Maybe you need a workout buddy. Maybe you need an app, on your phone to track your progress that you can log into every time you work out and put in your stuff or whatever. That might motivate you. I see a lot of people at my gym, they have these little notebooks and they write stuff in there and they keep track of something. I've never done that, but I see people doing that. Like they'll keep track of how much they do on different machines or whatever. I don't know, but if it works for them, that's great. Or if being part of a message board that dedicated to fitness, reading that every day, getting ideas, getting motivation from other people, whatever it takes for you to get you motivated, really focus on that, whether it comes from in here or something that you actively seek out. Sometimes you have to figure out what motivates you, and it's not going to be the same as it is for everybody else. And again, I really believe that the root of your negativity is jealousy. And that applies to me too. That applies to everybody. I've dealt with this myself. Like I said, there have been times in my life where I became very angry and bitter unnecessarily at someone because they achieved something that I had not achieved yet. And I had to stop and think, why am I so angry? This doesn't match up. Like this doesn't really go with this. There's no reason for me to feel this way. I don't like feeling this way, and I need to really look at why I feel this way. And I had to admit to myself, I was jealous. I was just jealous that this person had managed to do something that I had not managed to do. And I had to take a good hard look at myself. I had to objectively look at my situation. Okay, well, they've achieved that, but I haven't. But you know what? I'm going to look at it objectively, and I can say, although it hurts my ego to say it, they worked harder than I did. They put in more work and more time and more effort, and that's why they got it, and I didn't. I have to honestly say that. They worked harder, they wanted it more. It was something I was hoping to achieve as a goal, but I honestly didn't want it bad enough to work for it, and that's why I didn't get it. And this is something I've already actually talked about. Recognize that your relationships with different people can trigger strong resentment and jealousy. And again, it's like I mentioned, and I can relate to this personally. For me, it can be an ex's new significant other or a significant other's ex. I mean, you look at them and, yeah, I got this, I got that. But then say they achieve something. Oh, well, yeah, so what? You try to minimize it like, oh, well, so what? Big deal. Like they get a really nice car, they get a really good job, or, you look at it negatively. Whereas if it was a friend of yours, you might be supportive. You might have positive feelings about it. Say, hey, that's wonderful, So you have to look at how your relationships with people will affect the way you feel about that person's success. And this, I think, is another important thing that we don't do often enough. Some people never do it. I'm bad to not do it. Remind yourself of all the things that you've already achieved in your life that you've worked for in the past. Okay, yeah, say, yes, that person got that nice car that I really wanted. But you know what? I got all my debt paid off. That was a huge thing that I achieved through lots of work, lots of patience. I did that. I bought this house. There are things that I can look at and say, yeah, I know I haven't achieved that yet. Don't put a period there. Don't say, oh, I haven't achieved that. Just say yet. I haven't done it yet. But one day I will, and I'm going to work toward that goal. Because you can sit there and wish and want and woulda, coulda, shoulda all day, but if you don't put in the work, you're not going to achieve it. But you can keep that in your mind as a goal and add yet at the end of it. I haven't achieved that yet. I'm going to. And in the meantime, I'm going to think about all these other things that I've already achieved, all these other things that I've worked for and I've already done. And those are really great things to be proud of, and I'm going to be proud of that. So yeah, I haven't done that yet, but I have done some other neat stuff, and that's coming up. And once you decide that that is really something you want to achieve, come up with a plan for achieving what you don't have or what you haven't done yet. Whatever success it is you want to have in your life, come up with a real plan with steps. And then you have to actually do the work and complete your plan and follow the steps to make it happen. And this is another thing that I try to do. I try so hard to do this, and I will be honest, with some people it's easier than with others. Seek out the best in other people and then verbally or otherwise support and affirm them. I've done this a lot. I've gotten a lot better at it in the last 20 years. But again, it's harder with some people than others, honestly. But don't be afraid to say, hey, that's great. You worked so hard for this and you really deserved it. I'm really proud of you. That's wonderful. Because I think a lot of people out there don't have anybody to say that to them. And that's the way I was all the way through school. I didn't have anybody to say that to me. My parents didn't care. The people I hung out with didn't care. They were kind of anti-higher education and kind of put me down for it and criticized me. So I didn't really have anybody to say, I'm really proud of you. You've done really well. I had to be kind of my own cheerleader. So it would mean a lot. It would really mean a lot to some people if you would do this. And they may not say it, but it could mean the world to them if you would just say, good job. Put a little good karma out there. And also remember, in the midst of your mixed feelings or turmoil of feelings, and it is kind of like a mix of emotions sometimes when someone achieves something that you haven't yet. I know, I've been there. Remember that everyone suffers. Everyone does. I think we all have at least one person in our life that it seems like everything always goes right for them. I have somebody in my life like that. It seems like everything always comes up roses for this person. They never really seem to struggle with anything. And it's just like, oh, good for you. And it's really hard for me to stay positive with this person because it's just like everything is always so freaking perfect. But I do know for a fact that this person does suffer and this person does struggle with things that they don't talk about much, but their life is not all sunshine and cupcakes and sparkly things. I'm not talking about charity. I don't know why I said sparkly things, but this person's life is not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect, even though it may look that way. Everybody suffers. Everybody fails. I mean, maybe that person ran that race faster than you did, but that's probably not going to be the case every time. That person's not going to win every time. That person is going to work hard, and next time they may be the one who doesn't win, and then they're feeling like you do about the person who did win. Nobody achieves success 100% of the time. But what matters is it's not the times you fail, it's the times you try again. I have brought this up before, and I'm going to repeat it until I die, because I think this paralyzes so many people in their life, and it causes them to stagnate and not progress toward their goals. I think this stops so many people from doing what they really want to do. Stop thinking that everyone else is thinking about you or evaluating your life. If you fail, if you try something and fail, and you never try again because you're afraid people might laugh at you, you're never going to achieve your goals. You're not, and you're going to be less likely to try to achieve other things in your life that you want to achieve, because that fear of other people's judgment will paralyze you. Quit worrying about them, because they're not worrying about you. It's not that you don't matter, it's just that they are living their own life, and they're not sitting around remembering that time you ran that race in 3rd grade and you didn't win. Nobody's thinking about it but you. So let it go, try again, and keep trying. Run your own race. And that's whether you're literally running a race or whatever it is you're trying to do. Run your own race. Don't worry about the people around you. Don't even worry about whether or not you win or you even place. Don't even worry about it. Run your own race, because you get experience from it. You can learn things to do better next time. Whatever it is you're trying to do, don't worry about everybody else. You know, I've written 3 books. I've never done anything with any of them. The first 2 I wrote were awful, and I tried somewhat to get the first one published. No one wanted it, because I look back on it now, it was garbage. It was really bad. But instead, and I recognized that it was not great, but I look back on it now as good experience. I got a lot of great experience writing that book. It was a wonderful thing for experience. It's never going to go anywhere. It's never going to get published. It's terrible. But I'm glad I wrote it, because it was really good for me. And I took the experience that I learned from that one and the one that came after it to write River Road. And then I'm now using to write the sequel to that, which probably won't ever get published either, but I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of those stories. I think River Road turned out pretty good, and I use all that accumulated experience to write the one I'm writing now. And it may never get published, but I don't care. There are millions of people who have published books, but I'm not going to look at them and think, well, they've published lots of books and I haven't, so that's not fair. So I'm just going to pout, and I'm never writing anything else again. Who are you hurting? You're not hurting anybody but yourself. You're stifling yourself because other people have done something that you haven't. Don't do that. But you're shortchanging yourself when you do that. And this is a hard one. I brought this up too. Ask yourself if you're honestly working hard enough on your own life. And whatever your goals are that you want to achieve that someone else has already achieved, are you really working toward that goal? Like you could say, yeah, I always wanted to take that really expensive vacation that so-and-so got to take. And it's not fair that they got to go and I haven't gone. But yeah, I have been spending all my money on this, that, and the other. And I haven't been saving up for my vacation, so I don't have any money to pay for it. Maybe if I had tried a little harder to save my money instead of blowing it on whatever, maybe I could be on my way to saving enough for that trip. Have you really worked to achieve that goal, or have you just thought about it a lot? Because just sitting there thinking about it isn't going to make it happen. You're going to have to get up and do some work to make it happen. And realize that success is not a finite resource. You know, if someone else achieves a goal, that doesn't mean that it's less likely for you to happen. I think sometimes we look at it that way, like, well, so-and-so got to do that. They achieved that. So there's less success in the universe for me to grab now. But it doesn't work that way. It's not a finite, there's not a certain amount, a fixed amount of success in the universe, and it's all going to get snatched up by other people. It doesn't work that way. There's plenty of success out there, and you can achieve it. Whether or not other people achieve stuff's not going to affect that. Sometimes I think we forget that. Someone else succeeding doesn't take away from your own chance of success. And that kind of goes along with the finite resource thing. Just because somebody else beat you in a race or a game of Monopoly or whatever doesn't mean that you're less likely to succeed in the future. Yeah, maybe you haven't done it yet. Maybe you haven't written the great American novel. I damn sure haven't, but that doesn't change. That doesn't change the fact that I can't. That doesn't mean that 10 years from now I won't. And say a friend of mine does write the great American novel before me. That doesn't make it less likely that it'll happen for me. So I shouldn't feel bitterness or resentment toward them for doing that, because it's not going to change anything for me one way or the other. I'm still just as likely to do it as I was before. And then I hand wrote this one because I thought of it after I printed these things out. Sorry. How does their success affect my life? And that's a good question to ask yourself as soon as those negative feelings start creeping into your brain. How does their success affect my life? Probably doesn't affect your life at all. So spending a lot of time and effort feeling negative and bitter about it is not going to benefit you whatsoever. It's not going to benefit you in any way. Say you have a coworker and you're both up for the same promotion, and they get the promotion and you don't. Now that may affect your life. You may say, now that affects me because I could have this different job, I could be making more money or whatever. But now they've got it and I don't feel good about it. I don't think they deserved it. I think I deserved it. Well, then you need to look at it objectively again. Do you really deserve it? And maybe you do. Maybe you do. But look at it objectively. Look at it honestly. Get your subjective beliefs out of the way. Look at it. Look at the facts. Maybe this other person worked more overtime. Maybe they work more weekends. Maybe they just bring something to the job that you don't for some reason. Maybe. Or it may be an opportunity to change your life in a different way. You can look at it and say, okay, I've looked at this objectively, and I still believe they did not deserve that. I believe I deserved it, and I was passed up for this promotion, and it was truly not fair. You can take that information and do something pretty drastic. I mean, it's an option. You could take your goals and your resume and go look for a different job. If your company doesn't value your contribution, maybe you can find another job that will appreciate you and award you accordingly. And it may be a really good decision. It may be something to look into. Hey, they obviously don't appreciate me. I genuinely believe that was not right. I deserved it and they passed me up. I'm going to take my skills and my knowledge and I'm going to go to where people will appreciate me more. So it could still help you. Somebody else's success could still help you out. This one's long, my God, okay. Jealousy can be a protective strategy, a protective strategy brought on by vulnerable feelings such as worthlessness or feelings of inadequacy. And again, that's in you. That's about you. It's not about the person who has succeeded at something. That's why so many of the little cards I made here deal with you and not that other person. I know we all have vulnerabilities. We have insecurities. And it's different for everybody. But a lot of times I think jealousy is it's our own protection, against our feelings of inadequacy and vulnerability. And I think it's a good thing to look at it as that. And it can cause a lot of bitterness and resentment. But if we really start looking at why we feel vulnerable and worthless or inadequate, those are the issues that we really need to be dealing with. You get right down to the root of the problem, Because until you deal with those root problems, it's just going to keep happening. You're going to be in similar situations and you're going to feel the same feelings because you haven't dealt with the root problems that you have. Your low self-esteem, or you don't have confidence in yourself, and you know, because of things from your past. You know, maybe talking to a therapist might help kind of figure out what's going on with that. It's just something to consider. Another thing to think about is perspective. The grass is always greener on the other side. I mean, I think we've all heard that. You know, it always looks better from over here. And they may be thinking the same thing looking at our yard. You could be viewed with jealousy by others. You know, you're so quick to look at, oh, you know, Miss Perfect over here's got everything going for her. You know, wow, that's awesome. But that same person could be looking at you thinking the same thing for some completely unrelated reason that you never even thought about. Or someone else in your life may be looking at you the same way. It's all about perspective. You know, sometimes we got a lot going on for us and we don't even really see it. So it's good to stop and kind of count your blessings and look at the good things that you have in your life instead of the things that you don't yet have. Look at the other person's success, for example, a job promotion, objectively, and act accordingly. I've kind of already gone over that. And like I said, you know, if you look at it objectively and you truly believe that you should have gotten that promotion, you can act on that and maybe make your life better working somewhere else. And most importantly, don't give up. That's the most important thing here. Don't give up. Especially if you're just going to give up because, well, you know, that person achieved it before I did, so screw it. I don't care anymore. Just forget it. You're only cheating yourself. So this is why Wile E. Coyote was my hero growing up. If you ever watched Roadrunner, he never gave up. It didn't matter how many times he got blown up by dynamite or got a boulder dropped on him, or, you know, the little trap he set for the Roadrunner. He ends up causing damage to himself somehow. In the next scene, he's always back and he's always trying something else. He never gave up trying to catch that bird. And you know, he's my hero. He is my hero because he never gave up. It didn't matter how bad it was. It didn't matter how it went the last time. Oh yeah, well that didn't work, but I got this idea and this might work. I'm going to go for it. Yeah, because the people who are really successful are the ones who don't give up. I mean, the wildly successful people out there have failed over and over and over, but they did not give up, and that's the difference. That's why they are where they are more often than not, is because they didn't give up when things got hard, or maybe they crashed and burned and it didn't work the first 30 times they tried it. They kept trying. So keep trying, don't give up. And then the last few cards I have are just a few little... They're just random sayings about success. And they're just basically bumper stickers, but I like them anyway. I think this one is my favorite. And I think about this when I go to the gym. And the older I get, the more I think of it. A flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. So, like, say you've started going to the gym and you're not in great shape, and there's some flat belly working out right next to you, and you know they look absolutely wonderful, and you look at them and you get depressed and think, oh God, I don't look like that. This sucks. I'm going home. No, don't look at the flower next to you. You just bloom. You bloom on your own. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. You're not competing with them. You're basically competing with yourself. Don't worry about what everybody around you is doing. Don't worry about how far along they are in their success toward whatever the goal is. Don't worry about them. You just focus on how far you have gone and look back at how far you have come. That's the only thing that matters. Unsuccessful people get jealous when they watch the mastery of others. Successful people get inspired. See, I told you they sound like bumper stickers. I can look at people who can do something really well, like it's something I want to be able to do. I've always wanted to learn to play the piano, and that's on my list of things that I definitely want to do. I've never taken any piano lessons or anything, but it's something I want to do. I haven't done it yet. I keep thinking about it, but I haven't done it. When I watch someone, like I have an uncle who plays piano better than just about anybody I've ever heard. It's absolutely breathtaking. He's so good. And he's never had a lesson. He learned all this on his own. He just plays by ear. He can't read music or anything, but he's just absolutely wonderful. It's thrilling to just listen to and watch him play. And I don't get jealous. I'm not resentful. I don't feel negative at all. I feel uplifted. I feel inspired. It's like, oh my God, I hope I can do that one day. I want to learn how to play, and maybe one day I can do that. So I don't get jealous. I get inspired, and it inspires me to do better and want to do other things better. I look at that and I know how long it took him to learn to play like that, and it inspires me to want to do the same. Successful people never worry about what others are doing. They never worry about what others are doing. Don't worry about it. You have a goal and you want to reach your goal. You focus on you. Don't worry about the people around you, and don't worry about what they think of you and your goal. You keep your blinders on and focus on what matters to you. Don't worry about everybody else. See the light in others and treat them as if that is all you see. I mean, that's something that you could apply to life, whether you're talking about other people's success or not. But when you see someone who has achieved a goal, see the light in them. Like that's the only thing there. Forget about whether or not it's your ex's new person or what. Forget about it. Look at the light in that person, even though you may think they're a heifer. Try not to think about it that way. Look at the light. Look at the wonderful things about that person. And try to forget about the rest, although sometimes that's easier said than done. Just see the light and try to draw from that and use that positive energy in your own life. And this is my last card. People who can't stand to see the success of others will never experience their own. And that's the final thought on dealing with other people's success. If you can't stand to see the success of others, you will never experience your own. If that's not a good reason to let go of the negativity and the bitterness, I don't know what is. Work on yourself, focus on your own goals, and try to have good thoughts for these other people. And that's all I have to say about that. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I did want to I meant to mention this at the beginning and I forgot. I have created a playlist and it has a working title of something like Mama Mary's Lectures or something. Somebody asked me to take all these little videos like this and put them in a playlist. So I did that today and I will add this one to it. I think it's Mama Mary's Lectures. And it's sort of, some of them are in this format, some of them are not. But I think there are like 15 of them in there. Anyway, on different topics. So I'm going to put this one in there too. So if you want to check out some of my other videos like this, I would love to have you there looking at them. And they're in the playlist. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a great day.